How you doing, guys? BC90 here with the next video in my Poise Showcase series. Today we'll be looking at the Warpick, as you can see here. Now straight up, the Warpick, it's a lot of fun to use, but unfortunately it does have a limited moveset. You're really only R1 spamming with it. The R2 is pretty much a charged R1, and the weapon art Galvanize is for stamina recovery. It does stack with your Chloranthy ring, but unfortunately because we're not really expending as much stamina as we would with a Ultra Greatsword, it's not really a big deal in my opinion. But going over to our equipment page, I'll just show you the setup here. Assault level 125, our stats are still the same as it was in my first video, so if you want a more in-depth breakdown on these stats, have a look at that. Otherwise, we're looking at the refined Warpick plus 10. So we've got a B scaling in strength and dexterity here. We've got 410 AR, which isn't the greatest, but it's still, quite respectable. And you really want to be getting right in your opponent's face for this to work. So you want to get right in your opponent's face there for those consecutive hyper armor trades, and it does deal a fair amount of damage on its own, which is good. We buff it with human pine resin here, and we're looking at 505 AR, which is a little bit more respectable. Now, weaknesses with this particular weapon. Obviously it's all R1 spam, so unfortunately the Warpick is very easy to parry, so keep that in mind. And on top of that, look at it, it pretty much has no range. It has no range, which is a big weakness in my opinion. So you really have to get right in your opponent's face, and unfortunately when you fight someone who can space you quite well, it will be quite difficult to get a victory with this weapon. So to counteract that massive weakness in range, I've seconded the Gargoyle Flame Spear here. So as you can see, it's got about a 7-kilometer reach there, and really we're using it as our secondary weapon here because it does make up for that range weakness. Now again, it's all R1 spam with this weapon mostly, so it can be quite easily parried as well, so keep that in mind. But it is an effective sort of counterpoint to our Warpick. Now, in terms of poise, with the Warpick, unfortunately you're looking at an absurd sort of base poise value to be able to trade with heavier weapons such as Ultra Greatswords and Great Hammers. So really we're looking at a setup here that can trade with all fast weapons in the game. So to be able to trade with your straight swords, spears, katanas, knives, and hand axes, you're looking at a poise breakpoint of 28.35 two-handing the Warpick, which is pretty easy to reach in my opinion, and once you do get into that consecutive hyper armor trading, or the R1 sandwich as I like to call it is quite effective. The Warpick does hit hard and has the capability to momentarily stagger or stunlock your opponent, which is good, but unfortunately we can't trade with those heavier weapons. So again, the Flame Spear is a great counterpoint to this, so when we do fight Ultra Greatswords, Great Hammers, etc., we won't be looking to trade with them, as with the Warpick we'll be out-traded and out-damaged, but instead we'll be looking at hit and run tactics, so your rolls and pokes. I agree guys, it is quite a cheap setup. I mean, it's pretty much all R1 spam, but it is quite fun to use. And going back to our equipment page here guys, I do also have the Knight's Crossbow equipped and the Caestus there for a little bit of more versatility in our weapon selection. I've got the Havel's armor here to, as it's got the highest poise values. Looking at a poise there, it's 48.7, so we definitely can trade against all those faster weapons, which is good. And I've got the Exile Mask here equipped as well. So make sure you keep your weight ratio below 70% guys to avoid that fat roll. And going over to our rings, I have replaced the Sun Princess ring with the Leo ring. Mainly we're not too as concerned as we were with our other setup on HP regen, because this is a lot faster, it's a quicker setup, so we're looking to get right up close and personal with your opponent and R1 spamming for the win. So really, I replaced the Sun Princess ring here with the Leo ring, as it strengthens thrust weapon counterattacks. Now as you can see up here, the Warpick is all thrust damage, and the Flame Spear is all thrust damage as well, so the Leo ring works quite well with these two weapons. Now I personally don't know how accurate, or how often, the Leo ring actually kicks in, but playtesting it myself, I have had situations where I'll hit an opponent for a thrust counterattack, and I've killed them in one hit. So in my opinion, it is quite handy to have. Alrighty, so we'll go straight to the arena now, guys. See if we can get some matches with this particular setup. Now, again, I don't think this setup is as efficient as, using an Ultra Greatsword or a Great Hammer, which has, a wider range of consecutive hyper armor trades with more weapons. But against those fast weapons, which we see more of in the meta, in my opinion, this setup is okay. Okay, so it looks like our opponent there has a great sword, so we're going to switch up to the flame spear straight away. And we're looking to run and poke. Now, another good thing about the flame spear and the Warpick is they can both chip through shields. So that's a good thing with these particular weapons, is the fact that Great Shield users may get a little bit nervous, as we will be able to chip through their attacks. So we're looking at hit and run tactics here, guys. Alrighty. So like I mentioned before, against those heavier weapons that we have no chance trading with the Warpick, the Flame Spear is an excellent substitute, and you're really looking at just hit and run, guys. So rolls and pokes, rolls and pokes. Pretty cheap, I admit, but it is effective. So just like the running R1 with a washing pole, it's not the most fun thing to fight against, but it works. It works, guys, and it's in the game. It is a tactic, and depending on what setup you are using, it may be the only effective tactic that you have against certain matchups. So it's all fair game in my opinion, guys, and like I said, this particular setup here is easily countered by parries. So all you really need to do when you fight something like this, guys, is have a parry shield ready or a Saestus ready. And you'll be able to parry pretty much every attack with this setup. Okay, it looks like our opponent there might have a faster weapon. Oh no. He's gone for a Great Axe. Now unfortunately, again, we can't trade with this weapon with the Warpick, so we're gonna go... Oh, no, he switched to a faster weapon there. Because he's switched to a faster weapon, we are gonna switch back to the Warpick. Alrighty. So against those quicker weapons, guys, you can comfortably, consecutively hyper armor trade with them. So don't be afraid to go right in your opponent's face there with the Warpick, as long as you time your attacks to hit with your active frames, you will normally come out on top. Alrighty guys, straight on to the next match. Now I think in my next video I might do something with a Great Hammer. I know I haven't optimized my stats to be able to get the most damage output with those particular weapons, but I was sort of playing around with a great club the other day and it was a lot of fun, so I may do something brief with that, but we'll see how we go. Okay, looks like this guy might have another fast weapon there. Again guys, no issue trading with those weapons, so really that was just about going right in there, right in your opponent's face and doing as much damage as we can with that R1 spam. So yeah guys, because this particular setup is very simple, we're relying on, I dare say, cheap but effective tactics. Don't expect any flashy victories with this particular setup, but it is a lot of fun to use nevertheless, and you know, it does have its advantages on its own merits. So straight on to the next match here guys. Now unfortunately sometimes it does take a little while to find another match, so feel free to, you know, fast forward this video in this downtime, you know, these downtime sections, or you know, go grab a drink or whatever, and wait for the next matchup. There we go. Oop. Okay, so we really got to get in our opponent's face here to make this work. And we missed him with our crossbow there for some reason. Now we've got to be careful because he does have a lot more range than us. Oh, and it looks like he does have a parrying option there. So we just have to be very careful here, guys. Okay, we might switch up to our flame spear here. We'll match his range for ours. So I think he is looking to parry here, guys. Whoop. Just got to be very careful here. Oh. Alrighty. And we did just narrowly escape victory there. But anyways, we did get to showcase this particular setup. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, it's not the most efficient setup you can have for a Poise build. Mainly because you can consecutively hyper armor through less weapons, mainly just all fast weapons. And unfortunately with this setup, as you saw in this match, I did get a bit nervous with the fact that he had a Saestus there in his offhand, because the Warpick and the Flame Spear are pretty easy to parry. So that was a particular matchup where it's a little bit more difficult, and you really have to be mindful that the parry is going to be your downfall. So I might wrap up this video here, guys. We did get to demonstrate a couple of matches there. Unfortunately, not the biggest variety in matchups, but we did have a situation where I got to showcase the weaknesses of this build, I guess, when that guy pulled out the Saestus. So keep that in mind, guys. All in all though, it is a lot of fun to use. Don't get me wrong, if you just want to sort of R1 spam with a particular setup and see how you go, it's a lot of fun to use. So yeah, try it if you like, guys. It's not too bad. Otherwise, I will be ending the video here, guys. So if you like, please hit the like button. If you're enjoying my content, please subscribe. And my future videos will focus on other setups that take advantage of Poise. As always, guys, thank you for watching.